You're with Clement Manyatela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, happy Monday. Welcome to the Clement Manyatela Show. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and I hope you're well this morning and ready for the week ahead. All the best with your plans for this week. We start with the 702 open line. As always, you can call us on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. How have you been managing with load shedding? We were on stage 6 yesterday. Things escalated too quickly. Stage 6, which is quite hectic. Eskom says all this was due to multiple power units tripping various power stations. Electricity Minister Hosien Sonamohopa said would be out of the difficult situation by the end of the week. How were you affected by load shedding this weekend? How have you been managing? I struggled to find that ESP app that shows the load shedding schedule because I haven't used it in a while. How have you managed? How were you affected this weekend? Let me know. And also, let's remember, this load shedding is happening at the time when we have international visitors. The G20 meetings of finance ministers and central bank governors are taking place this week. Pope Francis is in hospital. The Vatican City said yesterday that he remains in a critical condition. He was still receiving high flow oxygen therapy and he had undergone blood transfusions. And I think at the time, when he did blood tests, they showed that he had a kidney problem, which is currently under control according to the Vatican City. So say a prayer for Pope Francis if you are Roman Catholic or you recognize him as a religious leader. And then the Baldwin Pretoria Marathon took place this weekend. How did you find it if you participated? And thanks to the Forbians Athletics Club who were hosting us. If you ran it and finished the 42 kilometers, I want to congratulate you because you are clearly brave. I did the marathon myself yesterday and I found it to be brutal. I mean, my body is still in shock. I thought the Soweto Marathon and the Makonjo Marathon in Mpumalanga and Omdidam were probably the toughest marathons I've ever done. But the Baldwin Pretoria Marathon is brutal. It really is. But it's good training. It's a good training run. Did you participate? How did you do? A friend of mine who was supposed to do the full 42 Ks decided to cut it short. Decided on the road that he's not going to finish the 42 Ks, but just do the 21 kilometers because of how brutal it was. It's really a test of fitness. So the race is, if you've never heard of it, it's like a double lapper. You go through the beautiful leafy streets of Jacarandas and then you climb up to Fort Klapperkop and then you drop down to Fountains Circle. But it's for hardcore endurance runners. I mean, the elevation is hectic. The highest level was around 1,555 meters or so. It was brutal, but it was good training. Did you participate? And if you did, how did it go for you? Can I tell you, let me say this. Can I tell you something that I found irritating during the marathon? And I want to hear your thoughts on it because it happens a lot when we are running. How do you feel about people who encourage you on the road while running alongside you? And let me explain that because I like such people who encourage others, right? I want to be encouraged. I would like to encourage people. My only problem is when they want you to run at their pace. And for me, that's a little weird, right? When you are walking or you taking your pacing down and someone comes behind you, no, come on. Don't stop. Be fast. Come. They don't know what your pace is. When you are running fast, there was a guy yesterday, I was running, because my rule is always never waste a downhill. I don't waste a downhill. I don't want to walk on a flat or a downhill. I'd rather walk on an uphill. So there's a guy who I was running, right, and my pace was a bit fast. We were running down, and the guy says to me, no, slow down. And the people really have no idea what your plan is. They don't know what your pace is. They don't know how you trained. They don't know if you're chasing time or if you're just loading miles. But they always have something to say. And honestly, that often gets to me. So please differentiate what I'm saying here between people who encourage others, which I support. I like to be encouraged. I want to encourage other people. So there's one thing to say to someone who's really struggling. You're almost there. Come through, brother. Come through, sister. Come through, mama. You're almost there. And it's another to want to force people to be on your pace. No, come. You want people to run with you. You don't know what pace I was going in the last 2 hours. Now I must follow your pace and be as fast as you are or as slow as you are. And I don't know how you address that with other people. Respect people's runs. You can't compete or want to run with someone. You probably trained more than they did. They probably trained more than you did. So you can never know what their pace is. And I always just struggle with that. And yesterday it happened a lot where I thought, hey, but why are you telling this poor person to come and run with you? You don't know how they've been running over the last 2 hours. Yeah, that's just my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are on that.
Clement Maniatella, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Very good morning, Clement. Clement, I did Phobians yesterday. Yeah, of course, one of the toughest marathon in Pretoria. For me, I use it for comrade preparations. Phobians, Soweto and Omnidam, they're tough. But I managed to finish it 3 hours, 8 minutes. My target was sub 2, but around 37 I started cramping, of which it slowed me down. But overall, for preparing for comrade, I can say for now I'm on good track. Moshere, bye.
Yo, Moshere, you are fast, bro. Yo, you are fast. In 3 hours, 8 minutes. So my coach, because I'm training for comrades myself, my coach told me I must finish this in 3 hours, 55 minutes. And I was like, that's impossible. Well, it would have been possible if it was any other route. It would have been possible. But are you kidding me? On a route like that? And I've never ran this marathon, right? The Baldwin Pretoria Marathon. So I didn't know what to expect. So I ended finishing up, I think 4 hours, 20 minutes. Yeah. But I'm not depressed by that because I realized how difficult that route was. So yeah, it's so tough. But I'm glad I did it. It's a good training run. Maybe it's getting us ready for Omdidam. Because I've heard that Omdidam, they say, is probably going to be a loop. And someone, please correct me if I'm wrong. But a friend of mine was telling me there's going to be a loop because that route by the river has been blocked. Is it Sarki? That difficult uphill. And I'm thinking, we're going to do that twice now? It's going to be tough.
Hi, Clement. They hurt my feelings when you are 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers into a marathon or an ultra, and someone will say, almost there. Keep going. You're almost there. Almost done. It's only been 2 kilometers. You're ruining it.
Hi, Clement. Bonolo here. I ran the race yesterday, the Pretoria Marathon. Oh, my word. It was brutal. The second half of the race was something else. But then I finished the marathon. I did 4:22, but it was hell of a marathon. Yeah, I have to agree with you. I've also thought Soweto was worse, but this one,
Morning, Pratlem, and the 702 land or lenders. Pratlem, on the road running, the people also irritate me. The guys that encourage you to run their pace, as if they're your coach, or they prepared with you. I mean, I've learned you run your race.
Yes.
And why run with a person that you didn't train with? They don't know your goal and all of that. So I often also get irritated. But yeah.
Yeah, listen, if I want to join a bus, I can join a bus, right? If I want to join a sub 40, 430 or a sub 4 or a sub 330 bus, I can do that. And then that person who's leading, who's driving that bus can be the one that encourages us and tells us what pace we're following. But when I'm running my own race, respect that, And I think we must differentiate between encouraging people on the road and trying to force them to run our races. Like, I'm running my race. I know how I prepared. Or maybe I'm just there to load miles. Maybe yesterday I had just run 25 or 30 Ks and I'm running this to just load miles and I'm not chasing any time. And then you've got these people who think they're experts in everything. No. Don't do that. You're running too fast now. Yeah, save your energy for this. You don't know what pace I've been following from the start. Or you're running too slow. You don't know which pace I'm following. You don't know how I planned. You don't know what my coach told me to do. What must I do now? Listen to you as the coach on the road? It's just so strange. Yeah, I just find that so strange.
Clement, last year I ran 21 of that race and I was like, so zay, because wow. And you could see people that were supposed to be doing 42 saying, I am not going back. Double laps,
my friend. We drove with a friend of mine who was supposed to do 42 as well. Stopped at, was like, I'm not going back for another lap. Stopped and did just 21 Ks. And I don't blame him because, wow.
Morning, Clement. On my site yesterday, I was doing a Cape Gate Val Marathon. It's a flat one, but it shows me flames. Yesterday, I normally use that run for qualifying for Comrade, but yesterday, it showed me flames. And that thing of running in a group or in a bus, I avoid that thing because I have my own plan, I have my own training, I have my own target. So I don't do a bus. If it finds me on the way, I can go with it. If the pace is fine, I will join. If the pace is not fine, I will just leave it. So I prefer running alone most of the time, especially in marathons, because I have my own target.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Listen, the first time ever where I was assisted by a bus was at Comrades last year. I ran my race, and then when we got to Paulie Short, I got on a sub 10 bus. First of all, I got on a sub 9 or something bus. And I realized that too fast for me. I was too exhausted. And then I got off that bus. I got onto the sub 10 bus. And honestly, if it wasn't for that bus, I don't think I would have made it. So I'm grateful to these guys, who are pushing us through these buses because they really take us to the finish sometimes. But also run your race. If a bus is too fast for you, get off and get on another one. If the bus is too slow for you, get off. Run ahead. Run your own race. It's 24 minutes after 9.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyatela
on 702.
So President Cyril Ramaphosa has addressed last week's budget postponement in his weekly newsletter. And I want to read a few paragraphs from that letter for you because it's quite interesting and just gives you a sense of what really transpired. So in this newsletter, the president said, and I quote, "The last-minute postponement was unfortunate. It gave rise to concerns and uncertainty among South Africans, investors, and the financial markets who look to the budget for important signals about the state and the direction of our country." Let me just stop there for a minute because I thought the president is being honest there, and kudos to him. I mean, some of the people that were communicating this on behalf of government last week were trying to position this as it's not a crisis. This is not a big deal. Postponements happen all the time. I mean, just be honest. This is unprecedented. It's a disappointment. It's unfortunate because it causes confusion. But here's what we're going to do to remedy the situation. And I thought the president is being honest here by appreciating just how unfortunate and how risky this is, because it gives rise to these concerns and uncertainties among South Africans, investors and financial markets. The weekly newsletter goes on to say, the budget reflects government's choices and priorities for the country's development. Decisions on how to spend public funds have implications for every South African. It is therefore essential that the concerns raised by different parties around the budget are properly addressed in the interests of accountability, of transparency and consensus building. The reality is that we strive to implement our national priorities in a context of slow growth, limited revenue, high unemployment, and a large social wage. The state is simply not able to fund every priority and ambition. The critical issue of the public purse must be a subject of discussion and debate, and not just among political parties, but among all South Africans who aspire to lead lives of dignity, end quote. So that's just part of what the president has had to say. But also notice how he's reminding us of the reality in as far as our fiscus is concerned. And the reality is that we are dealing with slow growth, with slow economic growth, with limited revenue, with high unemployment, and we have a large social wage. So whatever decision is going to be taken on how we're going to raise additional revenue, just remember that we can't avoid the fact that it's likely to be a tough pill to swallow. It may not be a VAT increase, but it may be something else. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow, whichever way you look at it. But hopefully it's not just us who swallow that hard pill, but politicians themselves must be the one that are able to swallow that hard pill. That's why I've said maybe we need to look at the ministerial handbook, these benefits that politicians receive. And yes, that's not going to give you 60 billion rand or 58 billion rand, but you see where you cut. We need every single cent. I think that will contribute towards that bigger number that we need. 27 minutes now after 9 o'clock. I got a tweet from someone who said, "Hi Clement, please can you play for the listeners a clip of General Nchabeni Mapaha and what he said this past weekend at a funeral of one of the soldiers who were killed in the DRC." So I want to play that clip for you. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are, because I think sometimes we need people who are leaders who will speak like this and confront the politicians, right? Because sometimes when it's you as a member of the public, or when it's journalists who do it, we're called sensationalists. But when it comes from someone from within, who talks from experience, maybe that's when they listen. Yeah? Here's a clip of General Nchabeni Mapaha. That's the SANDF Lieutenant General who was speaking at a funeral of one of the soldiers who were killed in the DRC this past weekend.
What I'm going to say here, I may be trampling on some cones, so please pardon me, Premier, and the parliamentarians that are here. All of you know that South Africa, in its position in the world, we are a global player. In Africa, we are the leader in terms of economics and geopolitics. And therefore, we are considered a big brother. No, you cannot be a big brother if you are unable to wield a stick that will make people be afraid. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is he talking about and all that? How many of you will build a beautiful and expensive house and not fence it and protect it? I don't think none of you will do that. Constitutionally, the South African National Defence Force is mandated to protect and defend the country. Now, any home will display its character, its worthiness, by the level of security that it places around it. Now, if we're going to play big brother in Africa, and therefore what we give for the Defense Force should symbolize that. A lot has been said about the South African National Defense Force not being well equipped, not being resourced and all that. I'm not going to get into that, but I'm saying and I'm appealing to the politicians that are here that next time you sit down and debate, think whether you are protected or not. Because that grant that you're giving to the people out there, the education of your children and everything else will not materialize if you're not protected. I'm sure many of you know that we are sharing our grants for the poor with people who are not supposed to share the grants. And that is because we are not protected. Our borders are porous. And they're porous because you, the politicians, have decided you want a Mickey Mouse Defense Force. I'm sorry to say that. And by the way, the Adjutant General is here. I'm protected. I'm not making a political speech, by the way.
Yep. And there were, as you can hear there, murmurings in the background. So is he not telling the truth, though? I know some people think he made a political speech and he should have avoided that, but he didn't lie. Maybe politicians needed to hear that from a senior SANDF official. That's how vulnerable we are. When we say it, we are dubbed as sensationalist. When SANDF experts say it, they're accused of exaggerating. When politicians say it, they're accused of playing politics. So I'm glad that someone senior in the SANDF has said it. It is gonna probably, and I hope, it's gonna make a difference. And maybe not, but at some point, government will have no option but to do what's right, to make decisions that lead to our safety and protection.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyatela.
On 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock. This is the 702 open line. We're taking your calls on 011 883 0702. You can send your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702. Let's start with you, Koketso, calling us from Johannesburg. Good morning.
Yes, hi Clement.
Hey.
I hope you're well. Clement, I think, as citizens, we would be inclined to take what the president is saying seriously, right? If we could actually see the executive demonstrating cutting budgets, right? So, for instance, the president could even lead from the front by starting to trim the fat that's in government. Banqueting, cutting, down on banqueting and basically putting a moratorium on things like banqueting, overseas travel. Nice to have the luxury that could actually be trimmed and cut away so that money can actually be freed up for actual service delivery. I'll give you an example. Look at how Department of Health, Department of Education, and Department of Social Development gets the lion's share of the budget. But have they ever done an analysis to actually see where does that money go? Does it mainly go to salaries of people who are at the head office, or does it actually go to hiring social workers, hiring additional teachers, hiring nurses and doctors? Right now we've got a situation where we've got unemployed doctors. People who have studied for long and hard, they're unemployed, but bureaucrats are employed. So he needs to really start, sort of paying lip service to it, actually look at cutting down government bureaucracy. There was a while back, there was a discussion about doing away with deputy ministers. That discussion died down, and then the cabinet got even more bloated. So I think citizens just don't take what the president says seriously, because he's not leading from the front in terms of trimming the fat and making money available that's already there in the state. It's just about trimming the fat, redirecting budgets to where it's actually needed, instead of increasing a 2% VAT on a citizenry that's already under strain financially.
So, Koketso, the president made promises himself a couple of years ago that he's going to trim the cabinet, and we still haven't seen that. So, that's another. In fact, he's the one that committed to doing that. But I absolutely agree with you. See where you can cut, which is why I said this tough pill to swallow. Hopefully, it's not just us as citizens who are going to swallow the tough pill. Why can't government officials, the ministers themselves, also swallow this tough pill. Elon Musk is doing that job there in the US of trying to cut government bureaucracy, to use Koketso's words. Those are the words Elon Musk has been using a lot over the last couple of weeks. I read you some of the paragraph sentiments coming from the president's weekly newsletter, where he spoke about the budget postponement last week. So this weekly newsletter was released this morning, and the president speaks about the last minute postponement and how that was unfortunate because it gave rise to concerns and uncertainty among South Africans, investors and the financial markets who look to the budget for important signals about the state and direction of our economy. But the president is also warning that because we've got slow economic growth, we've got limited revenue, high unemployment and a large social wage, the state simply is not able to fund every priority and ambition. So it's going to be tough whichever way you look at it. But also, as it becomes tough, we also need to look at how does it become tough for our senior officials themselves, the ministers, who still have these benefits that are, some of them are just incredibly wild. They really are living luxuriously. The cars they drive, the security they have, the homes they have as options in Cape Town and in Johannesburg. But who must cut when we need additional revenue? The impact is on you as a citizen and not so much on them as high-flying politicians. Matt on the WhatsApp line says, good morning, Clement. These ANC politicians must take a day's salary dock for every hour of load shedding. Then we will see service delivery. That's Matt in Soweto. Matt, why is it ANC politicians that must take a day's salary dock? It's not the ANC that is in charge. It's the GNU. The GNU is made up of several politicians and leaders from different political parties. Unless your suggestion is that because we have seen load shedding under the governance of the ANC, then that's how the impact should be on the politicians from the ANC. And then Smons says the general who spoke in that clip, I played you a clip earlier of SNDF Lieutenant General Nchabeni Mapaha, who spoke at a funeral of one of the soldiers who were killed in the DRC, spoke about our porous borders, spoke about how you're going to have a Mickey Mouse SNDF for as long as you're not going to be investing in the SANDF. How are you a big brother on the continent? How are you expecting to be taken seriously as a global player when you have a Mickey Mouse SANDF? When you are not investing in the SANDF? When you are continuing to cut budgets, what kind of SANDF are you going to have? So, and I saw someone sent a message on the WhatsApp line and says Dakota Legoete has already started attacking General Mapa. I have not seen what Dakota Legoete said. Maybe you can just point me to it. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. But someone needed to say that. Someone from within. Because often people from within are always going to sugarcoat things. But he was real. Isn't that what we sometimes need? So Smon says that general was on point. It needed to be said publicly. Whoever blames him for that speech, I will understand ignorance combined with zero understanding of the SANDF. And then another one says, Clement, hands off to that general. Not only are we accused of all sorts of things when the general said that he'll be accused of all sorts of things, there are those who often are ready to beat us down and accuse us of xenophobia. Unemployment, for example. Foreigners don't know what is that in this country. They have taken all the menial jobs with the blessings of the government and the business sector. Of course, that's a message there from Veli on the WhatsApp line. Let's go to some WhatsApps on 0727021702. Your voice.
Good morning, Clement. I think we need our own version of Doge with a chainsaw in South Africa to come and cut through wasteful expenditure, corruption, under-collected taxes, you name it. instead of increasing the VAT to 17%. Thank you.
Yeah, whichever option that we're going to go with is going to be tough. It may not be VAT increase. It may not be that, but it may be, I don't know, personal income tax, corporate tax, but they've already told us corporate tax, even if you go after that, that's not going to give you enough additional revenue that's needed for this deficit, this budget deficit that we have. So you have to think creatively around what you target.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyatela.
on 702.
11 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's continue with your calls and WhatsApps. I got a question here on the WhatsApp line from Sipho, who says, "Hi, Clement. What bus are you talking about?" This is a message from DJ Heavy D on the WhatsApp line. So, yeah, let me try explain that. Because we were talking about the Baldwin Pretoria Marathon that took place yesterday. And we're just raising, well, not a concern, maybe just an observation about how when you are running on the road, you often have people who want you to run at their pace and they don't even know what pace you're following, whether you're loading miles or you're chasing time. And I was saying that sometimes, you get on a bus because you think your bus can take you up to a certain point. And by bus, we don't mean like the actual normal bus. But in running, there's something called a bus. So this is someone who drives that bus. This is someone who, let's say, is going to be holding a board that says, 4 hours, 30 minutes, meaning all of you who want to finish this marathon in 4 hours, 30 minutes, run with me. So you run with that person. So that's you running and getting on a bus, right? Some buses are fast, like for instance, buses that want to finish a marathon in less than 3 hours, 42 Ks in less than 3 hours. If that's fast for you, you get off that bus, you're not going to keep up. You have to join a bus based on what you trained for. So that's what we call buses. It's basically, this groups of people that are running together, led by this one or two people who are going to get them to the finish line in a specific time. That's when you join a bus. But sometimes it's too slow for you, sometimes it's too fast for you, and then you get off, you can join another one. That's what we meant by that.
Hi, Clement. In 29, right, when running, it's men that will try to encourage you, whereas there's this other fellow man of theirs who can't even run, but that not even saying a thing to him. But once you as a woman pass, it's like, yes, my sister, like, what is that? Like, just keep quiet. Like, that's what I prefer.
Really? But my experience is that they say that to men and women, no? Don't they? Listen, maybe you're right that it is the case that they want to make comments towards mostly women. And who says women are not like proper runners? I mean, you should see the amount of women who just pass you on the road. Women are just as fit as us. Women also train just as men. Women can get through the finish line way ahead of you. So it's so weird that, when women are running or they're slacking on the road, then you feel the need to encourage them because they are women, when in fact they are men equally who could also lose some energy on the road, just like them. Yeah, but I don't have an issue with people who encourage you. And I'm not even talking much about the marshals. The marshals just encourage all of us. Okay, come. There's a hill there. From there it goes down, That encourages you. But then you've got people who are running. They find you on the road. They don't know you. You don't know them. And they expect you to run at their pace. They expect you to run slower or to run faster. They start giving you advice you didn't ask for, unless you ask for it. I mean, some people have coaches who have told us what to do on the road. This is your pace for the first 10 Ks. This is your pace for the next 10 Ks. So then it becomes a bit weird when now I must throw away what my coach has told me, And the funny thing yesterday was there's a guy who was busy telling everybody to run on the road, right? who was telling all of us, when you are walking a bit or you are taking your pace down, he says, no, come. I don't want anybody behind me. And guess where that guy was? When I finished, I was walking to the car, and there he is. This is like 25 minutes or 20 minutes after I finished my marathon. There he is, running to the finish line. This is the same person who was telling people on the road, no, don't stop. I mean, he was even saying, I don't want anybody behind me. All of you, come. Exactly. You're going to finish it after 5 hours because you were busy trying to push everybody to be so fast on the road, and people are now not even regulating. They're losing so much energy that the last 3Ks, they're going to end up walking it, which is what I suspect he did himself. So let's allow people to follow their own paces on the road. Let's listen to some more WhatsApp voice notes.
Good morning, Clement. Comment on what that senior South African National Defense member said. Yeah, even though it's true, but it would have been nicer if he also addressed reports by the Auditor General that year in, year out find that there's wasteful expenditure and, all of that in the SANDF itself. So it's nice, to sort of criticize politicians and decision makers, but it's also nice to look yourself in the mirror and say, what am I doing that is wrong as well? So he should have addressed that as well. So that's my comment on that. Thanks. It's Kanya and Katlo.
Yeah, Kanya, thank you for that. And I take your point, but also remember, budget cuts are not because there's irregular expenditure. Right? You don't decide to cut budget on departments because there's irregular expenditure that gets reported every year. Right? You cut budget because there's simply no money. You're trying to fill this budget deficit, this gap. That's what happens. So, yes, we've got to think very seriously about how the SANDF spends its money. And it's not just the SANDF. You have to think creatively and rationally about how all government institutions and agencies spend their money. That's critical because some of it is wasted in corruption, in wasteful expenditure. But that's not why budgets get cut. It's not the reason. But we have to rationalize. We have to be intentional about how monies are being spent. And that is going to take a while for us to get right. What's the short-term plan now? And that's what I'm talking about.
Good morning, Clement, as well as the listeners. Regarding to what the senior army general have said in that clip you've played, he has spoken nothing but the truth. He has said everything that's happening which is wrong in the country. In fact, it's not only the army department. When you check the correctional services, the SAPS, the traffic, all these force or security departments, security budgets have been cut, and that's why security have been compromised. What kind of a country are you going to run when you cut budget in one of those above mentioned departments? You can easily see that it's people who haven't grown through the ranks. It's politicians who doesn't know the whereabouts or the know-how of those departments. They just take decision without knowing the implication that those decisions will have. Anonymous, bye.
Hi, Clement. I wanted to concur with some of you listeners who've said this already, but government needs to ensure that if they want us to pay extra in terms of tax or whatever else, that they lead the charge by stopping the leakage and corruption that we know is rampant in government departments. They need to ensure that they tighten the belt and stop all the splurging on the number of bodyguards, travel, and all these things that are perks for many of these ministers, that we need to see them taking charge in that and ensuring that they spend the monies that they have, that they get from the taxpayer well, and for the most important and the most necessary things like service delivery, taking care of the citizens of this country.